Hello, movie fans and TV fans. I wanted to talk a little bit about an experience I had yesterday. It was a Sunday when I went to see what I call the greatest movie ever made, of the movies I've seen so far in my life, that is, Ben-HUR, the 1959 William Wyler version. To me, this movie has it all. Romance, storytelling, emotion, great score, great cinematography, sets, direction. It's everything a movie should be, and especially everything a great movie should be. I'm not really seeking here to do a full review of the movie, although I'll talk a little bit singing its praises here and there. Just want to tell you about my experience yesterday that I had going to the movie theater to see this. Now, I was fortunate to see Ben-HUR on the huge big screen once before. That was 2008 at the Ziegfeld Theater. That was in 2008, I believe. And it's 11 years ago already. Can't believe it. I never saw it on that huge screen before. And as much as I loved it watching it on home video, on television and everything, it really, really enhanced it, needless to say, the way it was supposed to be seen. And I was so thrilled that Fathom Events with TCM was going to be bringing it back this year, yesterday, for its 60th anniversary. So thrilled about it that I absolutely had to make sure I saw it with my girlfriend. And it just so happened that it was also my birthday, so it was kind of like a birthday event, too. And we figured we would ask my nephews to see it. I have two nephews. One of them is now 28 years old. He's going to be 29 this year. And the other one is a year younger. Well, my first nephew, the younger one, saw Ben-HUR with me on video. I guess it was Blu-ray. I want to say maybe like 6 years ago now, when I was in my old apartment. And, you know, the movie's 4 hours long, and he really didn't like it, the first nephew. And I was kind of disappointed, but I'll get more into that later. Now, because it was my birthday, I kind of wanted both of these guys to see it. The first nephew had to work, the one who didn't like it. He didn't like the movie anyway. I wouldn't expect a guy to sit in a movie theater if they didn't like the movie the first time, another time. Okay? So I understand that, but he really was working and he couldn't make it anyway. But now the older nephew, the one who's 28 going on 29 this year, came with my girlfriend and I to see the movie. And I was hoping he would like it. And I know that during the film, I was just like the first time I had seen it in the theater in 2008. I was blown away. I love the film, love everything about it, love every frame of it. And I came close to crying. I did cry a few times. I had to, beneath my glasses, wipe a tear. A lot of emotional scenes. You can see so much when you watch a film like that in like almost like 70 millimeter practically, you know, wide like that, in all its glory. You can see the characters' expressions. You can make out so many more details. You can see the tears in their eyes when they're going through emotional moments. And it really affected me. And I had to wipe. The tears were coming down in certain key scenes of power and strength. And, you know, I know my girlfriend already loves the movie. She agrees with me. She was blown away, too. She thought it was fantastic on the big screen. So the question was, what was my nephew going to think? And when the movie ended, and this is part of my reason for this discussion about millennials. I don't want to, I don't like throwing everybody in the same box. I don't like painting with a broad brush, but generally speaking, a lot of younger people, millennials, younger than that, even, they have a hard time appreciating a movie like that. And when we came out of the movie theater, my nephew was totally indifferent about it. The look on his face looked like he'd been through hell, I really thought. And I kind of like wanted to talk to him about it, but as we were filing out of the theater, he didn't say anything. He had to use the men's room. He went into the men's room, and, I looked at my girlfriend and I said, I don't even know if I should ask him about it. I mean, see, I can't comprehend that. In my day, even when I was a kid, much younger than him, when I was 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, I'd come out of movies like Jaws, The Exorcist, The Omega Man, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, you name it. all kinds of movies or genres, I'd come out and I'd be blown away by what I just witnessed, and I want to talk about it. This is like the winner of, I believe, 11 Academy Awards, the most Academy Award wins ever, like the epitome of what a great film is all about. Grand, epic, spectacular, and this guy has no emotion. So I had to kind of like ask him, so give me what you thought. I asked him, you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And he said to me, one of the first things he said, well, I didn't realize Jesus was going to be in it so much. Well, for one thing, if you take all the screen time of Jesus Christ in the film, I don't think he's on screen for 5 minutes, if even that, out of a 4-hour film. But apparently he thought this was, he said, you know, this was more like the life of Jesus. And I'm thinking, did we watch the same movie? I mean, they make the mistake of calling Ben-HUR A Tale of the Christ as a subtitle. I really don't think that's what it is. But it certainly is not that. I mean, it's a movie about the Jewish prince, you know, Judah Ben-HUR, and, you know, what his trials and tribulations and what he has to go through with his friend who becomes his enemy, Masala, played by Stephen Boyd, and, you know, struggles with his faith and his journey. That's what the film's about. How could you watch that and not get anything out of it? And I was kind of disappointed in that. I loved the film. Like I said, I was emotional. My girlfriend loved the film. She was emotional. We got everything out of it, but that's the focus of this. I'm trying to understand how young people today, and he's not that young, he's almost close to 30, doesn't get anything out of it. So we went out to dinner after that. We were able to talk a little more, and he said, well, you know, he said, movies today are very different than the ones from the older movies. And, you know, like I said, in all fairness, folks, Ben-HUR is 60 years old, but it's not like we're talking about him watching a silent film or an old 1930s black and white John Ford movie, or you know, something like that. You know, from the old, really old days. This is in color. It's got action. It's got, you know, wonderful thunderous music. It's got a lot of action scenes, a chariot race, and I just don't know how a person can't be at least somewhat impressed and come away with something. Now, I also want to interject before I forget that, you know, one man's junk is another man's treasure. It's starting to rain here, by the way, as I'm talking, so excuse that. You hear the raindrops. It's going to come down hard, I think. Maybe the sky is crying because of this situation. But one man's junk is another man's treasure. I get that. I get that we can't all like the same things, but I'll go on record here, and I want to see what you think. Please give me your feedback. If you don't enjoy the movie Ben-HUR, and don't forget about the religious aspects of it, I mean, maybe you're not that religious. And in all fairness, I did ask my nephew, I should say, I forgot this part before we went in. I said, I want to ask you a personal question. Are you a believer? And he said, no, it wasn't. That's another thing. So many people today are atheists, you know, but I said, well, even if you're a non-believer, maybe if you pay attention and get into it, maybe you could have a different attitude, or maybe, you know, even if you're a non-believer and you don't believe in God or Jesus, you can watch the movie and at least get into the character of Ben-HUR's struggles in life and trying to pull himself together and redeem himself and find his family and mother and sister and all. And, you know, my nephew here, you know, his mother's passed away, but he had a mother and he has a younger sister, so you could kind of relate to the characters of the mother and sister, I would think. I can't understand for the life of me how he got nothing out of it. He said, you know, movies today are made differently. Like, for example, people wouldn't, like, go into the wall, you know, and go like that, he said. And I'm like, so how do they act today, I wonder, you know? So when you watch movies from today, what, everybody just stands there like this, emotionless? Nobody gets excited. Nobody gets emotional. Nobody has any passion. I don't understand. I mean, I know I can appreciate that movies are different today, but this one, as I said, it's from 1959, you know, almost 1960. You know, it's not like 1929 or 39 or 49. It's a little more modern in scope and color and everything. You would think that it would be possible to enjoy the film to some degree, as I say. So I was kind of disappointed, and we talked a little more, and I tried to explain about the camera, how you had the really widescreen ultra cinemascope, whatever it's called. This one, it's wider than usual. I said, you know, how they frame all the action, and he goes, in one shot. He says, yeah, that's another thing. He says, today they make movies like they show you this, they show you that, they show you different shots. They don't have it all in one picture. He said, and I feel so sorry for these younger people. I do. I feel sorry for younger people who can't get into it. But apparently that's the way it is. And any of you younger people out there who are watching this, please, by all means, let me know how you feel about it, pro and con, both ways. I want to find out if anybody out there is a younger person who's seen Ben-HUR and really loves it and was blown away by it and can appreciate it. Because I'll go on record as saying, if you don't appreciate, again, this movie, and not to repeat myself, but just to underscore it, if you don't appreciate this piece of cinema, you don't like movies. I'm talking about the grand, production of a film, the fashioning of a film, not so much, the story maybe, but there should be some appreciation. I can't imagine anybody seeing Ben-HUR, especially on a huge, gigantic screen, with everything in your face and the loud music score by Miklos Rosa, and I can't imagine you not being somehow affected by some of the scenes. I mean, he didn't mention the rowing scene, the intense rowing scene where, the Quintus Arias comes in and kind of challenges the men to perform at ultimate speed, raising the speed at which they got to row. That's an intense scene. And he didn't say anything really about the chariot race scene until I kind of tried to pull it out of him. What do you think? They don't, think about it. They didn't use CGI. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. It's like, I don't get it, folks. So I loved it, is what it comes down to. My girlfriend loved it. But my nephew and my younger nephew, a year younger, several years ago on home video, he didn't like it. What do you think, folks? Take care and let me know.